that Obama is a Muslim, they've been really misdirected from the fact that he's a servant of the system that's currently committing a genocide. So there's a lot of reasons why I don't listen to people out there that are putting some strange narratives. Once in a while, I'll see certain individuals put out a really good heartfelt message. I'll also see how people will use spirituality or memes like what is the matrix, what is the meaning of life, to express that part of them that is human, that may be tapped in, where there may be another aspect of them, say a political aspect of them, that may not be perceived to be as tapped in or as connected with source or their higher self. So we're not all awakened and we're not all asleep. It's not all one thing or the other. With the alternative media, you're really getting a mix. I mean, it really would be an interesting study, just all the different things going on behind the scenes in the lives of people that are either involved in researching some of these topics, but in particular involved in putting out that information, putting their face out there, an independent talking head, if you will. I'll tell you what, there's pressure that comes with that. There are people that come and go, you know what, I liked you when you were this way. I want you to stay over here. Well, can you really be independent and true to yourself if you start going, what do you want me to, You want to be true to yourself. And some people, they see the success that comes from telling people what they want to hear part of the time. But can you lose yourself in that process of telling people what they want to hear and sticking to certain narratives, certain popular conspiracy narratives? You can, but you can reclaim it. Just like the concept of selling your own soul, well, you can redeem it. You can get it back. You can't really sell your own soul. You can lease it. You can do things that can compromise your soul. You can always do things to get it back. So I'm not getting anything from the people that are currently producing content. Every now and then I'll look up certain videos and I'll find people by accident, and I'll find great videos all the time on YouTube. So that's true and that's not true. It's like I find it organically now. There aren't a lot of people, and I can think of few, that I'll listen to on a regular basis. And it doesn't mean that there aren't people out there that haven't put out good information. It may mean that I've already come across their information. I've already come across, for example, what Laura Eisenhower and Mark Passio has to say, and some of the other individuals, Vinnie Eastwood. There are other people out there that, have come across what they have to say, and for the most part, the essence of their information and what they're about. And then, of course, there's the breakoff. There's the place where they continue to go in their direction, and then my journey continues over here. Over here now. I'm over here now. Now I'm over here, and I'm splintering out like a spider web in my own creativity and my own growth and my own soul's evolution. And that's tied to, the original content. So, the original ideas that I have about the solar impact on human consciousness, my very unique warnings about how World War III will play out, the timeline, and areas most affected. And then, of course, the off-grid scouting, letting you know, of course, where not to go, some areas you might want to look at, kind of encouraging you along the way. Maybe you can create intentional community here. You got to be up for what you're dealing with, but basically providing good advice for people trying to get outside the rat race. And then, of course, exploring my spiritual understandings on this global conspiracy. There's something far larger. And so in doing so, I find all these different splinter topics and then subtopics, and how it very much is misunderstood by the rest of the alternative media. And I see much of it like parroting the same stuff. And even people that have on guests, for example, and I can mention a few names. I'm really not here to attack anyone, but here to really echo that I'm hearing a lot of the same talking points. And it's not really going anywhere. And I've seen how too many aspects of the alternative media have ended up allowing alt-right, what is known to be alt-right, even if it's a fabrication, an artificial construct. but it can be known by the obsessions with white genocide or a less white world. This was not infecting the alternative media 10 years ago. And this is by no means a way to bring people together that are multiracial. They often use the word multiculturalism. It's not multicultural if saying, you're raised by, not both parents, but one parent. Then you're multiracial. That would be my case. I'm multiracial. I'm not multicultural. Only so much culture passes through genetics, and there's still a lot of argument about genetic disposition to certain behaviors. And of course, ways that people are put into a box. But it really is about the environment that you're raised in with regards to culture. And the idea of being multiracial may be more of an illusion, illusions of separation, than that which we know. There is something happening with human genetics. I happen to talk about that on this channel. I think that there is an alien agenda. I think there is really an invasion of human consciousness that we can see with the archons with regards to that conversation. But then when you see people divert it and not people call it out, because there's the judgment and then there's the denial that there are people placing judgment and going, well, aren't we being invaded by Muslims though? It's like, no, you're not being invaded by Muslims. And if you can't count on people in the alternative media to call out that bullshit when they called out false flags before, it could be argued that there is no hope, that you might want to abandon ship. But does that mean abandon speaking out because of fear of persecution or being lumped in? Well, I do a symbolic thing. I say, well, I'm leaving alternative media and I'm going into the free media. Hashtag free media, one word. And I see the free media as not being easily compromised. It's like the free media folks are defined by their insusceptibility, by being true to themselves. By not being about the commercialism or buy now and buy this product and flipping personalities, but being real, genuine, some would say salt of the earth folks that are using YouTube and the internet to get out the truth and information. There are many of us, but we're only so strong with our own voice. But you know what? Don't ever discount the power of your spark. And don't ever do things in a quest for the power to hold the ring, to speak to millions, because you are speaking to the people that you need to speak to. Be grateful for the power that you have, and wield the sword of truth mindfully. Do not sit in jealousy at those that are reaching more, that are sitting there with their mansions and lavishes. Do not participate in the jealousy energy. You have everything that you need. You will have more power than you're aware of. That's why they choose to distract us. I talked about this in a previous podcast. The archonic distraction of human consciousness and why. They distract to control our behavior. I see a lot of controlled behaviors and controlled thoughts in the alternative media now from people that should know better, should have done their homework into how susceptible minds can be hacked and redirected, and how, no, they're not about censoring. They just sit there and they infiltrate the alternative media with this information, bombardment like a real blitzkrieg attack. Boom, 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 just bombing with this information to take away from the obvious stuff that's hidden in plain sight. Hidden in plain sight. That's what we're dealing with. That is my hypothesis to you. And everybody's going to have their own truth. So me tuning out of certain people is not an attack on maybe someone that you like. There may be something that you're getting from someone, some bit of information, some bit of esoteric knowledge. Maybe it is helpful to you, and maybe I'm not in need of that knowledge for my own growth. Maybe I've already crossed a Rubicon in my own spiritual realm, and I've already crossed this illusion of separation on one level. Maybe that information is there to help you see as above, so below. If others have already achieved a certain level of awareness and beyond of as below, so above, and vice versa, as above, so below. From the micro to the macro, I've talked about this concept for years, and it's something that seems to be built into me, wired into me, organically, a part of my actual raw organic nature. And to also see both sides of something. And so I feel like there are many ways in which I choose to do that. So yeah, if I don't see value in certain content, and it changes, but I don't sit there on autopilot and allow myself to be programmed. And there's also a programming out there, and it's that everything from the mainstream media is a lie, and that creates a certain sense of psychosis. Okay, so is the weather not 46 degrees today? Was there not a shooting today on 5th Street in Alberta? I mean, it gets to the level, okay, so all this was fabricated, so we're not really, we're in a dream then. And so there's a little bit of mental illness to where some of these directions go to, you can trust anything from this website, beforeitsnews.com, which is now mostly lies. There are people actually denying that there is fake news, and I've done full videos about that. I won't spend a lot of time on it. But for the people that have denied the fake news, calling the fake Islamic invasion stuff and other things, fake microchips, fake Russian invasions, I've given dozens of examples, actually. But I've stuck into a core few that I've seen over and over and over on Facebook. How does someone distinguish between fake news and real news? Do you really have to open up a new tab and research every time? Shouldn't your intuition, shouldn't there be a spiritual knowingness within us that goes, that's fake, that just knows that's fake? Just like, hey, that's a fake profile. That's not a real human trying to add you on Facebook. How many of you can fill that as well? I can. I know immediately when it's a fake profile. I don't need to click on it. I know. I don't know how I know. I just know I know. And then I look and I go, yeah, it's another fake Middle Eastern profile. And why so many fake Middle Eastern profiles directed my way? Or do you get that too? And the people from Nigeria and all that. Fake, 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 fake. Just like all the fake people in this world. And it's almost as if they try to use certain people and they bombard on Facebook, and then later they create this fear of them, fear of the immigrants. Well, many so-called fake profiles of immigrants tried to add me. I just want to add that in there. Where is the conversation about this, how the machine has created sophisticated ways of dividing us? Sophisticated dialogue, round table. Whoa, folks, this is what's happening in social media to divide the people. This is the evil agenda. This is what it is. Are you seeing the get-togethers? Or did you see a few people compromised years ago, spearhead the 9/11 conferences, infowhores.com, and then other examples? And there are many people that did a lot of good work in the last few decades that have found themselves compromised by the organizers of said conferences. And it doesn't end with that particular individual. And there's a lot of good work and a lot of good that's come from some of the conferences as well. It's really like truth in the internet and other powerful tools. It could be used as propaganda. It could be used for good, or something could be used mindfully or unmindfully. I often am looking at things from both sides of the discussion with regards to this. When we look at the alternative media, has it been done mostly to awaken people to the often good within us all, and to really expose this global agenda, which I believe does include Russia and China, and that they really just want us in this fallacy of East versus West, which is really a movie theater version of events. It's a script. Or do I see, the leading voices in the alternative media show themselves to be really voices of the establishment, voices of the system, voices of the Borg, echoing the talking points of the archons that are operating at the very tip top, that are now discussed. You even have Alex Jones having David Icke on. David Icke wrote a whole book about it, yet David Icke has shown himself to also be vulnerable to pressure from the archons, and to keep his talking points in a certain line, and to not acknowledge the creator. And I will mention that, being that a number of you have mentioned that as well. It seems to be a common occurrence. David Icke will awaken people to a certain level of fear of them, and not actually truly give or even some basic advice on meditation. He basically gets some ayahuasca, fallen god Anunnaki, the female goddess whispering in his ear the secrets of the Matrix. And it's like, wow. I have some unique positions on both what's going on spiritually and physically. And so, yes, you had this disinformation in the alternative media. And then with regards to the ayahuasca, I think there's somebody named Nick that made a mention. He felt that a lot of people that have been involved in the ayahuasca ceremonies are actually being hosts to some of these fallen angels or deities, which we may call archons or demons or jinn or other. This seems really plausible. In fact, I've seen a lot of personality shifts in people that have done the ayahuasca. And so you're going to have people that are in our world and in the New Age community, in the alternative media, promote certain substance taking because they claim that they had a good experience and that they were given a fair amount of knowledge. And so it seems that humans today, just as they were in the past, very, very mesmerized by getting the download. Like a computer. Now, we are software, but just the receiving of the knowledge and information. People think that they're having special visions because they were seeing something very detailed that they believe was coming outside of themselves or within themselves or from God. And so there's the God complex or the goddess complex that we see in a number of folks in the New Age movement and the alternative media, playing both masculine and feminine sides, Again, both enlightenment side and or conspiracy side, and yet they're serving the same agenda. They're misdirecting attention and energy to them and their little empire and their little world. And they're even missing the most Gnostic, most basic spiritual truths, even if they discuss the archons. They really seem to do a really good job at tiptoeing away from even exploring what we might call spiritual solutions, which I believe are the only real solutions. People that demand, well, what is the solution when presented with the truth? They can call it a problem. But a lot of people like respond to being, educated about something by saying, what's the solution, when they should just look deeper at what the solution is themselves. We need to be able to look for this gnosis and knowledge within ourselves. There should be less uniformity. If anything, the rise in popularity of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton being the absorbent for all these decades of New World Order conspiratorial talking points just shows the power of suggestion. It should alarm people. It should alarm people that thought that we were awakened to go, wait a minute, not so awakened at all. Room for improvement? Absolutely. How can we help? How can you help? How can I help? How can we continue to carry the torch, if you will, of independent thought and independent action, independent spirits, yet we're connected to the whole? Yes, we are connected to the whole, interconnectedness, but I'm not going to be one with this mass way of consciousness. I'm not going to be one in a New Age movement with some entity that somebody is calling benevolent. I'm not going to just give blind support behind a demigod politician because he goes China, 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 and I also have been going China, China, China the last 8 years. No, I'm going to trust my own intuition. I'm going to trust my own gut. I'm going to trust my heart. I'm going to trust my inner gnosis and knowledge within my own consciousness. So, this is the path that I walk on. And if I'm not going to hear similar messages in a or things that are going to help me in a kind of okay, now I subscribe here and follow this person here. And there may be good things that certain people will say. I'm going to steer away from mentioning names. But when I see that person act like a dominator, when I see that person show ignorance of certain things and then insult his readers, if they don't get behind a certain thing, that they're pussies, and yet at the same time speak out against dominator control behavior to then show themselves to be a sociopath. See, there's a lot of that too. Why? Well, a lot of us are on this path of self-healing. And so if you reach people, this is my gnosis that I'm giving to you, what I believe to be the truth. So take it as my opinion. Take what applies and leave the rest. When you go out and face persecution to present certain truths, and you're actually taking part in awakening, there's a lot of good that you can do for yourself, especially if you create negative karma for yourself in another galaxy, time and place. So certain souls that are here now that have access to YouTube and may have this knowledge from actions of their souls past. Wow. I don't want to lose you guys too far, but there's a lot of folks in the alternative media that are here to work off some naughty karma. And it could be from the last lifetime. It could be from many lifetimes back. It could be an error in judgment or some sort of sin against the creator or creation, or who knows what level was even played with, i.e. Anunnaki or Atlantis. There's a lot of souls here that have some serious history. And I would say that we're in a soul prison. So I don't think that it's crazy to say that some of the people, our souls here, are working off some negative karma because of things that they partaked in. Whatever you can imagine from that statement alone. I believe this to be the truth. I would even say that some of us have history with each other. Maybe we were on the same side or not on the same side and we switched sides, or maybe some people are acting like they've switched sides and they're acting like they're doing good, but they're still serving the agenda in the alternative media as deceivers. Gee, I wonder who comes to mind. And they almost seem to be powerful souls, not good souls, but powerful wicked souls that know what they're doing. And they are amongst us. And then there are souls or people out there that are doing a little bit of good and bad. Good and evil. That we would perceive to be good and evil, because there are multiple channels or spirits working through them as a host. So they play agenda to most or to many. They may have an agenda to clean up their own karma, only to be presented with the ring of power and attention to get back on the radio. And I'm speaking of one person that most of you are not aware of, because now I can speak freely about him without it being an attack to him, because you don't know. But we used to be friends. And then he was off the radio, and I'm giving a few clues, and he went back on the radio in Portland, and I felt how the spirits were using him to deceive with the fake asteroid news and Comet Elenine. And I saw how the man, I felt in spirit, he was using magic or magi, or getting assistance from the spirits because he wanted the attention for himself. He was an energy vampire who was being rewarded by the levels of fear that he was able to create in his audience. He was actually being used as a corporate tool, which is why they put the conspiracy theory show on, and we're not talking about Ventura, but this person's generic conspiracy theory show, which borders on fringe, on a conservative Republican talk channel, radio, in Portland, Oregon, USA. And I felt a great evil behind that. And I felt his spirit being co-opted. And I could see him today. He's not warning about Trump, but he put out a lot of fake predictions about Obama, and even a lot of fake predictions about Trump being killed before inauguration. And it's like the man has not changed. It's like almost as if the spirits use people like him and others, and perhaps they coordinate ways to make certain people successful, to where they're not being directly paid per se by the government, but they've sold out to a spirit of selfishness, of greed, that is not necessarily seen, but I feel that I can detect it. I can see how people that have really involved themselves with the law of attraction on only one level of looking at it to serve themselves, and how by doing so they become corrupted from within, they become ugly from within, without realizing they know nothing about spiritual attributes or concepts. And they have chosen to use their gifts for selfish purposes and gain. And there are consequences for all of our actions. And they, some of them young souls that are new to magic and new to the law of attraction and new to some things that could even be described as that, but just the use of energy, use and misuse, they're new to these things. And this is the law, or this is the land of cause and effect, causal factors, learning from our experiences, evolving, but also using the gift of communication. One of the greatest gifts is our gift to communicate, and a gift that a lot of people don't use properly, that they misuse. Misusing the gift and their brawn, beauty, the intellect, the body, the beauty, these things that people use to control others, these gifts, these things that are innate within us. And so people look at the people that are rewarded for their corruption, be it in the alternative media or others. They look at that as well, how can karma be legit? Look at these people are doing well. Look at these people that are suffering over here. How can God be just and other things come in? And I believe there's something like larger, bigger than just our own lifetime. Call me crazy, but I'm not the first to tell you this. And that really one soul lifetime is really a drop in the bucket in a sea of soul experience. So for there to be like the effect of certain actions, it isn't seem strange at all to me in terms of like, spiritual street smarts, common sense, for it to take a lifetime for something to transcend back to someone. But I do believe that it takes place within a lifetime. Certain things do take place within a lifetime, but if someone is an asset of the archons, for a time being, you may see them prosper. So what I'm getting at, for 10 years, 20 years, you may not know why they're prospering, and it could be because for a time in time, space, reality, they are being used as a tool, and they are being rewarded for their actions. They think they're winning. They are seeing materialism as their savior, the money that they're making, their analytics. They're seeing that as their savior, and they may speak in other tongues, or act like they're speaking with God, if you will. But if they are acting in a interest, only for numbers and views, then they are acting in a way to get attention from the machine. Now, what I am doing is also reaching you through the machine, but the people that I'm going to reach, I'm going to reach them organically. And I'm not going to get into stories or things that I'm not interested in, simply because I think it's interesting to you. I think it's important that I stay true to myself and continue to do that and not mold myself into a brand, because there's danger in that. And the danger is the compromise that comes to the soul. I feel like, as someone that's been through the alternative media and been through my own experiences and have different views now than I have on other things, as well as views on I mean, a lot of my basic morals have remained intact, as I didn't come into this without any morals or beliefs or basic understandings of certain things or how the world works. I never claimed to have known it all, but I did come into this fairly young with a fair amount of knowledge that I believe was innate within my soul, that was already within me, i.e. not necessary to come through books, documentaries, or DVDs, but an innate spiritual truth within me that always questioned the matrix and authorities and structures, causing mild issues growing up with my parents, schools, institutions, employers, and other psychopaths and control freaks, including the opposite sex, that may have come through, the form of into my life through dating, for example. So I've come across different forms of this structured world. In fact, I feel I am here, like others, to bring forth new information and ideas. And that is what this is all about. That's what the alternative media is supposed to be about, a constant growing outward of knowledge and ideas, not uniformity. Not, now this is how we box everything up. We put it behind a politician who says just enough words, to convince followers of, say, a certain talk show host like Alex Jones to believe that, say, Donald Trump is a truther. It's a ridiculous notion. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But if you can hammer home such a grand deception that a person is in reality 180 away from what he really is, someone that gets behind the official story and gets behind the wars and gets behind the genocide, that and 9/11 truth are not consistent. And anyone trying to blend those two should be someone that people should be investigating further. Obviously, people have been looking at Alex Jones for years, and he plays a major demiurge, archon type of deceiver, inverting truth 180. He shows clear signs of possession, and he has openly disclosed himself to be an agent of evil, in my opinion. In my opinion, through his YouTube channel, he's shown himself to, some people don't like the word Freudian for various reasons, but for lack of a better, in a Freudian way, to come out of the closet, if you will, as a psychopath. And he's been doing this for years. You can look at the Alex Jones gun show rally in Austin, Texas, 2010, where he crashed a rally that he loosely helped organize or promote. When you come out of the closet and really is coming out to show that you're completely psychotic, or that Alex Jones was completely psychotic in that case, you're doing so for a purpose. Either because someone says, okay, now we need to see you fall on your sword and kind of reveal yourself in plain sight to your listeners that you are not all there. And so the people remaining are there because they don't mind you doing what you're doing. Or there's that clip with Alex Jones demonizing Middle Eastern immigrants going, "Come here, white woman, I rape you." And you can find that clip on this channel. Alex Jones yells, "Allah Akbar." You should probably watch it. See, that level of demonization undoes good work. When you demonize people as rapists, well, they're considered people that should be killed or drone attacked. So you're taking part in a genocide. So if you're supporting Alex Jones, you're supporting the demonization of people that are being killed, you're a part of that chain. You're connected with that archon world or the dark grid. You're not ascending. You're the furthest thing from the consciousness collection. Consciousness collection, that's a new one. Collective consciousness expansion or enlightenment. There's also a woman that I criticized recently when she attacked my channel, and a viewer came to warn me and say that she's a witch and that she has shady characters as friends that do get involved in trolling and harassment. And the fact that this person got my attention and someone else, and it's like, here is this female who's like, has been behind the scenes with people like Alex Jones and others. You'll see those that seem to be controlled by archons hanging with other people like them. Or what's that saying? Those are the same feathers clucked together. Or maybe that's a new one. And so I've noticed over the years the patterning with the people around Alex Jones, the type of guest and the talking points. Then years ago, I was able to see that, wait a minute, the New World Order is also coming out of China and the East, Russia. And I've met a lot of people who have had dreams or visions of this, to a point where, it seems like some of us have interacted with other people that have felt the prophetic warning from spirit. We've interacted with each other. That's also an unspoken truth. That's a part of, the backdrop of my story. Is that synchronicity? And so I can see how there's been almost this lockstep to get behind Putin and Russia, and to not be more suspicious of things going on with China and how this is all being set up, and to even want a war with China. And we're going to see people that support Donald Trump, look at China like, okay, well, you guys think you can roll? No, we're going to make the world great again. People are going to love us again. Living in America. We're gonna create new nukes. They're gonna be more explosive, bigger, faster, stronger, and we're gonna use the nukes that we've got. Let's roll. It's like, Bush on crack. And I think that's what we're gonna see. When you have people getting behind a man and an agenda that's going to result in World War III and a potential occupation of this country in the future, that is straight up archonic all the way. And you can even say that those people are lost souls. It's difficult to rationalize for them in any way, shape, or form this propagandizing for Putin or Russia and saying that it's outside the New World Order. And that, Putin for president, and people not being able to connect the dots with this pro-Russian talking point that it's real. It's not just something Clinton concocted. Clinton was just there to discredit the whole thing. Same thing with Obama and the whole Russian hacking thing. There are people like myself that have been critical of RT in Russia for over 5 years or over 6 years. We're out there. We were mocked when we did it, but we did it for a purpose, and we said this is a part of the New World Order. So now they come out with reverse psychology as the people were told that, the establishment hates Trump but loves Clinton. Clinton comes out on cue, to act like she's standing against Russia, when the same woman, Hillary Rodham Clinton, is pictured with Vladimir Putin. There are connections between Hillary Rodham Clinton and China. We can talk about those things, but it's not going to end with Hillary. It's going to open up a can of worms to this greater global system that has aided and abetted the communist Chinese military for multiple administrations. And a bigger picture will unfold, and people go, whoa, I had no idea it was this obvious and documented on paper. Not channeling, not speculation, but see, it seems that people want to get the really cracked out sensational stuff from the people that distract them with a new fear of the day, which Alex Jones provides. And on the New Age movement, you have the false hopes, the declarations of the major shifts that are going to end the Dark Ages, or get rid of the evil ETs, or it will make everyone so psychic that the sociopaths in power will not be able to stay in power because we'll become all-knowing. This is all garbly-goo from the so-called, love and light spiritual community and the dark side of the fake conspiracy trash promoted by Alex Jones and others, along with the blind worship of the demigods. So who can you trust? Who can you trust? Like a scene from Batman where, the Joker is out there in style. Who can you trust? You work to trust yourself. You work to quiet the distractions within. You should be able to see those that are, behind the war agenda. You should be able to see they're not just demonizing, white Americans. You should be able to, they're deceiving Middle Eastern immigrants as a whole, so they can continue bombing their country. Now, if you can't see these things, there's like some major blockages. So the most important thing is just remove that mind control, whatever it is, wherever it came from. Sources known or unknown. Work through those blockages. There are things like meditation, healthier ways of life, healthier diet, getting off certain things. Smoking is certainly not healthy, although I fall into the habit every now and again. Certain things or combination of unhealthy habits, while you're addicted to the internet news, can create a very unhealthy body and mind that is easily programmable. And you can even say a mind that's easily hackable. And what I've noticed in myself being a sensitive, periods where I'm not at my healthiest, it's almost as if you can feel those attacks a little bit more. And certainly being up late, chain smoking isn't going to be good for protecting your field. So, you need to think about those things. And you might notice that, you're having more weird dreams, and or around certain periods. There's a full moon or solar flares. The hard thing about being on the path of truth and putting the content out there and challenging so many structures is that you absolutely feel like you're on the radar. And what's difficult about it is it's not impossible. It's like you have to walk. It's like Miyagi saying to Daniel, walk left side safe, walk right side safe, walk middle, just like grape. Squish, squish, just like grape. Well, you got to be in this for the right reasons and have faith in something greater than yourself. Not to make it sound like an AA meeting, but it's been a big part of me walking through this evil, is knowing that I'm not walking through this evil alone, and knowing that something's protected me for many, many years and will continue to protect me for many, many years until my work here on this planet is done. And when it's done, I'm ready to go home wherever that is, or to continue the next experience of my soul. But there is a purpose to being here and what we're doing, and our knowledge in many cases has come organically from within us. And so there's a reason why, we've seen certain people and things in the world, in pop culture, that has helped remind us, or fiction, or even sci-fi. Wow, it's just sci-fi. Well, wait a minute. What if it's true? As we see sci-fi activate the inner knowing within us, and so much more. It's an amazing journey. It's an amazing journey to be on the path of actual awakening. And there are other people out there in Hollywood on the dark side that are taking our natural intuition and knowing, they're seeking to redirect it, whether they know what they're doing or not. But they are playing host to the spiritual parasites that want to redirect our attention, also known as the archons. So you have people, redirecting you to a fake invasion when there really is an intuition within you that knows that one day our country may be invaded. But no. It's the Muslims. Redirect. And instead of actually looking at like the real paranormal or things that are going on, you have the redirect to the false stuff, and you have the New Age movement. Everybody talked about archons years ago. Now they are saying the archons have been beamed off planet by the good, i.e. good Anunnaki, as represented in Stargate as the ghoul, the invading ghoul in Stargate, SG-1, the series. That's likened to the Anunnaki, or the fallen gods that have been masqueraded as our creators, as also propagandized by ancient aliens. You see a coordination with this. Mainstream media, alternative media, New Age movement. Link. Not to mention New Age movements or groups that will endorse people like Donald Trump and Putin, and or ask you to pray for the United Nations, or just give the energy, whether it's hope or whether it's fear. Energy is energy. Where attention flows, energy goes. Again, where attention flows, energy goes. You've heard this. This is also used as a tactic by the parasites. Redirect your energy and attention to where they want your energy and attention. It could be loving, it could be angry, it doesn't matter. Energy is energy. And if you're putting a lot of positive luck energy towards a circle, could that positive luck energy directed at the UN be used for something else? You tell me. How powerful is our consciousness? Well, how much are they trying to distract our consciousness? In the question, we have the answer. And even if the answer does not appear right away, it's the act of a wise one to seek the answer anyways and pose the question. So we see the power of our intention, of our energy and focus, and how there are all these channels, literally like a radio, channels. All these channels. Look over here, and then the people go, well, wait a minute, aliens don't exist, the conspiracy doesn't exist, these people are all crazy, and I counter with, but wait a minute, do you see how there's a coordinated, though, in a lot of these people that generally may have come up with their own content on their own? I'm not taking that away from Alfred Weber, that he came up with some of that stuff about the ascension on his own, but is it in line with other deceptions that seem coordinated through these forces that are almost beaming telepathically into their minds? And people want to ask me about Project Bluebeam, and it's like, I can recount what we already know about Wernher von Braun. I think what we need to talk about is the idea of the fake alien saviorship that's taking place in the New Age movement. And it seems that this is a part of Project Bluebeam. But I don't believe that in the end it's really being run just by the U.S. government. There's something above government, and don't you ever forget that. There are some people that put the cart before the horse, literally, and they think that the MyLab projects are in seniority, or human projects, or human craft that looks like alien craft, that is the top of the pyramid. Where did they get their technology? And it seems that this technology was introduced. So, we're not going too far into side topics, but we're going to come back to this. I think there were deals that were made between Eisenhower, or aspects around government, with other groups for genetic tissue. And we had something called the abduction wave, the late 70s, that led into 1980, and then a drop-off in activity, showing that it might have been cyclical, even connected to that very same solar maximum that actually brought me to the Earth in the year of 1980, on the date of February 25th. And to see a New Age movement kind of sprout out of that, and all this crystal children and disinformation on that end, and talks of a rapture off planet. Meanwhile, you had a co-opting taking place within the Patriot community, pre-predicting economic collapse, even Y2K, and other things. And even back in the 90s, you could see people on the right making more of an issue out of Bill Clinton, than Bush. I'm not a fan of Clinton, but when they play that Rush Limbaugh style of Democrat-Republican, it's called the left-right paradigm. The left-right paradigm makes one look worse than the other, for the intention of politics, propaganda, mind control to lead the masses. And that's the truth. There is no other truth. That's why people engage in propaganda, whether they know it or not. It's called the left-right paradigm. Alex Jones used to warn about it. Now he's a part of it. You see, this is all very, very interesting psychology, because he was there to put out enough good information in the early days and make certain predictions to where things would go that would be correct. There would be the disinformation that we can see as well. But there's enough stuff that was accurate amongst the disinformation that makes him seem like a guru or a martyr or a demigod in his own way. And having seen a megaphone and met him a few times, he does have an aura or a presence that sensitives that perhaps could be put under a spell, they can be brought to worship the man if they are closely aligned with him, having encounters with him, physical ones, or watching him on a regular basis, hypnosis. He's capable of keeping his listeners under a state of hypnosis, which is why you can't really rationalize with current Alex Jones listeners, because they need to currently be under a form of hypnosis to not see the role that he is playing. And so we really look at this as a pyramid at the top, and as the pyramid and the angles of the pyramid come down, you have various aspects of it. And what I have been covering in the same breath is various strands that seem separate, but they're all being controlled by the archons. On the dark side of conspiracy theory, you have head archon of the conspiracy movement. Tip of the spear, it's Alex Jones, a man who likely is possessed. And he will actually scream about transhumanism and going off planet. He's actually coming out of the closet. He is not like us. In plain sight, he's doing this consciously. And then you have the love and light crowd claiming that they're going to talk about the archons now and mention them by name, but they're being moved off planet like this is how things work. That a system that's been in place for perhaps billions of years on the planet is just going to go away with people making these fake claims. And that shows that there's an intention to take us off the real investigation and to let down our guard. So fake victory here, fake victory over here on the other side of the pyramid. And then if you are going to be concerned, they want to hijack your concerns into these black holes. And so you have on the physical level, the people that act like they're rational and scientific, based in physical world over here, and then you have Alex Jones, and then you have the far ufologists and stuff, and the people that are inclined to believe that we are not alone, which we're not, but the wanting to believe that the aliens are good. This is so strong in the collective consciousness, and it's a result of some sort of cosmic abandonment, the wanting to believe that they are benevolent, and the fear that they have embedded within us through either torture or previous witch hunts to not actually tap into our own nosis and to not actually tap into our own spirit body that can actually slay these demons and dragons. Yes. They attack us with mind control in whatever way they can to keep us away from moving forward on the advance. And I'm not talking about literally in the physical. I'm talking about in the etheric or in the spirit world, there's a battle taking place. And some of us have the ability to expose the demons of this world for what they are, weak, hiding behind these machines where they try to pull the levers. But they're not all powerful. They're not almighty. Just because we're discussing their reality in our world, our coexistence, doesn't mean we're saying they're all powerful. We're saying that we need to take responsibility for dealing with the problem and not deny it. Not deny it there's a toothache there, not deny there's an issue or a need to take care of our physical sense. Oh, just deny that anger, that hunger within you. Oh, you don't need to eat. That's being negative. And see how that works out. We have issues on the planet that need to be healed and corrected by the humans on the planet, not the archangels or those that are coming in the form of the archangels. So I want to thank my friend that wrote up a write-up on Archangel Michael, and I'm gonna read about that in a future podcast. But it's an analysis from someone that I do believe is sensitive enough to see the deceiver spirit behind Archangel Michael and why he's worshipped by so many. And you can see parallels also between, the Savior, the Archangel Michael, and of course the Jones, the Savior with the megaphone, and merging this with Donald Trump and the New Age messages saying that Donald Trump is believed to be a ascended master who's working with Putin, but it's good because they're going to shift the balance of power. And so, a lot of you are just not aware that there is a crossover in the disinformation with the New Age side and the mainline conspiratorial side. I don't know if I'm one of the first to bring this to your attention. But what I am getting, the feedback I'm getting from some of you is that this is content that is needed, that you're not hearing from others. That's what I've heard so far. And there are a few others that are exposing, like the fake messages of the Galactic Federation of Light. I put out a video a few weeks ago, pretty much bringing it to your attention that yes, and I read word for word what one of the reports said. There are people out there that are being told that, like, the bad guys, the archons, are being evaporated. EMP weaponry is being used on them by the Anunnaki, which are now good. They've now become good. And so there's like this weird fake New Age, beforeitsnews.com style of channeling nonsense that's constantly upholding this establishment, something that they call the Great White Brotherhood. At this time where aspects of the alternative media screaming about white genocide or a less white world, when I know that New Age movement, through my experiences as a youngster, being forced to go to certain things in Seattle, and my mother had her own obsession with it, this whole concept of upgrading your DNA and being chosen by the aliens and not being left behind, because those left behind are going to be the ones basically killed by the cataclysms as the earth goes through its remodeling process. Do you realize how judgmental this whole thing is? And do you realize how there's almost parallels between that style of New Age thinking, DNA, which is all based in physical? That seems to be the world of the archons or the archon clones. If you're going to get physical, and make it sound spiritual, let's upgrade a DNA. Let me see your body talk. Archangel Michael, let me hear your body channel. And so, the 80s were a crazy period. And I think that some sort of portal was opened up. It's almost like Stargate, the TV series is a metaphor for something else, as well as perhaps being a literal retelling of a story with certain facts changed. But the idea of Stargates being etherical and certain New Age groups being there to open up the Stargates for certain spirits to come through and basically dabble in man's affairs. And at the same time, on the other end of the pyramid, have people that are warning against this conspiracy and Illuminati, that are actually serving it and redirecting in whatever way they can the mass way of thought or resistance thought. You are the resistance, and creating a meme around that V, and creating the Swiss cross, other symbols of power, and acting like a demigod coming out in plain sight. And so those that actually hang around and continue to listen to demigod types like Alex Jones are allowing themselves to be programmed by this archon transhumanistic consciousness, do as thou wilt. They're changing. And the goal's the same at the top of the pyramid. They want souls. Just like that song. They want your soul. I'm actually going to download that and start using that in different intros and outros, there's something to that, that people, there's a nosis, Gnostic truth within that. They want your soul. So there may be people that, and as I wrap things up here, that you have found along the way that have helped educate you. There may come a time where, for whatever reason, you don't need them anymore, or they are no longer giving you new information, and it's time to move on. And you may see some hypocrisy, and you may even become awakened to the fact that there's even a little bit of programming to view them as someone that you need. I've actually seen how Mr. Eastwood has actually played up that role. Nothing wrong with asking for money. It's kind of how you do it, and it's kind of in how you're obviously creating a following of almost people that feel psychologically dependent, like you're the only funny man on the planet, and like they need you. So it's like this symbiotic thing, and that's not so cool either. That's not really using the gift of communication to your highest good. See, there's a reason why I've gone in my own direction, and I seem to have nothing to do with any of these people, and they seem to have nothing to do with me. And it's because of these things that I discuss regarding morality and self-responsibility and true spirituality. And I call out a level of bullshit that you can argue they would find offensive. But I believe that podcasts like this are needed. And I enjoy not being the popular guy. And I think in the end, the fact that I don't have a lot of associations with a lot of these websites, it's going to be a good thing. A lot of these people may find themselves to be targets of the state later on. I may find that to be the situation as well. But I certainly don't want it to come about from having the wrong entanglement or having the wrong website linked to me. There are very few websites that link to me, and it would be horrible to have developed the wrong associations, say 5 years ago, to have them linking to me, to see them targeted as alt-right. The reality is there really isn't anyone that could be described as alt-right or white supremacist or shady that is currently promoting Alex Hansery. And I'd rather have nobody promote me than to have shady people promote me and make it look like, oh, I'm in the network of Jeff Rentz or something like that. Would be bad. And I can also think, well, what is it that's kept me away from a lot of these? I mean, I have mentioned on this, the only time it's being mentioned in this podcast, but I am the only man of Afghan or Middle Eastern origin. Ansari, a bloodline's thousands of years old. On my mother's side, you have the Nagel and the Lewis line, Nagl. And that's Austrian, and there's a little bit of Welsh there with the Lewis line with its traces in the blue blood. So something about that, I don't know what, but I do know that when they talk about white genocide, basically, I guess that means I am white genocide. I am a poster child for a less white world. And yet I've gone on this path. I think it's a great way to close. I've gone on this path of being really, really different than everybody. And I have like these themes that like define me, like illusions of separation, like what about the concept that my very background genetically played a role in my brain looking at things a different way? And how there is a different way for people out there that act like they're independent to look at people of mixed race other than subhuman or white genocide. This is a travesty. This is a travesty. But it is clearly a strong sign of a destabilization of human consciousness, intuition, human love, that the whole white genocide meme has become so massive, and people that claim that they are independent are being led by people like Alex Jones, alarming them about supposed professors calling for white genocide, putting you in fear mode, threat mode. Be afraid of this group. I talked about it earlier. You feel inside your heart, many of you, that an invasion is underway. I believe I'm actually giving you like truthful warning signs concerning China and Russia in the 2020s, and I'm telling you that I believe this to be the truth. You're being led astray through your own intuitions by a cryo scenario being concocted by the archons that control people like Alex Jones, that put people like Alex Jones in power, that reward on a monetary level people that dabble in fake news or fake new age channeling on a monetary level to confuse us. We see these people rewarded, and we wonder how can they be rewarded if you're taught by your traditional religious texts that is how God shows the ones that he favors, those that are well off, and in some cases with Mormon thought and aspects of New Age thought, lighter skin. By calling out this type of deception that people with blue eyes and blonde hair are better than the rest, that is not partaking in the racism. People that are being defensive about this being called out need to check themselves. They need to check themselves. There absolutely has been a meme that has promoted a look, a perfect Aryan look that is not different than Nazi Germany. And it is back. It is back with a vengeance. It is in our world now. And it's that narrative and those that push that narrative that are aligned with that consciousness, those that are screaming about white genocide, and those that are treating people like myself and others, like you have no right to have feelings. Like you just look like a regular white guy. We're not talking about you. Yes, you are. And I'm here to remind you, you are talking literally. Being that, you're talking about Germany being the epicenter for this and those genetics within me being dominant, Afghani and Germanic. Afghani is an arbitrary name, though. Ansari is a bloodline that's thousands of years old. And so from a spiritual perspective, I've used my body to the best of my ability and genetics to bring you a lot of knowledge and information. As we are humans, we are transmitters and receivers of knowledge and information. And certain vessels or combination of genetics may have certain abilities to tap in and transmit and receive. That's been my experience in this body. So I will not allow any of you to act like this is not a part of the conversation. This whole white genocide nonsense is probably one of the most destructive things to ever come out of the alternative media. There is no hope for that as a entity. It's on its way down. And it's probably only a few years left before the major events start to begin, now that they have divided us as a movement. So be very careful the sources that you listen to. And if you really appreciate my source, there's ways you can help this program grow. And it's to recommend this work to your friends, to your family on Facebook. Post this episode to Twitter. And there's only a few of you supporting at $5 a month or $20. And I appreciate that. As I become more regular with these podcasts and more people start listening, sign up over at patreon.com and make a pledge for a few dollars every month. The link is down below in the description. That's how you can help me maintain my independence. I live off the grid. I live off a few $100s every month. I like to increase the amount that the public is contributing on a monthly basis, because that's what enables me to enjoy the small things in life, upgrading to having no car to a car very shortly with money that I've saved, maybe being able to go out, have a cup of coffee. So like I say, if you think this is worth it, donate the value of 2 cups of coffee per month. And if 100 of you did that, man, if just 20 of you were doing that, that would change things incredibly. So I want to thank you to the 5 or so that are doing that out of the 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. And yeah, hopefully this year of 2017 will show more support for an actual independent voice who's not pushing the mainstream conspiracy narratives and new age disinformation, false hope, lies. With that, this brings this podcast to a close at a full hour. Alex Ansary signing off for January 15th, 2017. Subscribe if you're new.